Okay, welcome everyone to our council meeting for March the 14th. And I would first like to respectfully acknowledge that we're on the traditional territory of the Calgary people, so Gila Kesha to everyone. Can I have approval of agenda as presented? Thank you, John. Thank you, Trina. Okay, so now we'll say all in favor. Thank you. Okay, let's go on to adoption of the minutes. Minutes of the committee of the whole meeting held on February 28th. Thank you, John. Thank you, Trina. All in favor? Thank you. Minutes of a regular council meeting on February 28th. Thank you, Trina. Thank you, Brian. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, we don't have any delegations for this evening. We had a couple earlier. We'll thank them for that. And we'll go on to business arising from the minutes of unfinished business. So anything that anybody would like to ask our staff about with regards to action items? If I don't see any hands, then we will move on to February 28th, the committee of the whole. 20 exchange and Tico drummer invitation. The recommendation that the committee recommends to council that the 20th Society host the Tico drummers for the 2023 Salome Days weekend, and that Port Hardy 20th Society support the exchanges of 2023-2024, and that $5,000 grant in aid be reinstated for the 2024 year. Do I have a motion? Thank you, John. Have a second? Thank you, Trina. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor of the motion? Thank you, I passed. Okay, we'll go on to Chartered Professional Accounts Audit Planning Report for December 31st, 2022. Recommended that the audit planning report be accepted as presented. Do I have a motion? Thank you, John. Thank you, Janet. Any questions or comments? If not, I will ask for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? No. Passed. Thank you. Correspondence? I see none. Is that a misprint?
Yeah, to your worship. Yeah, we were pretty surprised as well.
I'll push your luck, fella.
You know what? I think that's about the first time we've had correspondence that I can remember. I can't remember when we haven't had correspondence.
Yeah, I can't either.
Usually
No.
lots of it.
Yeah, that's really unusual. But anyways, that makes it a little quicker for our meeting this evening, so that's good. Okay, committee reports.
Second.
Draft minutes of the Tourism Advisory Committee meeting held on February the 21st, 2023 for information. And then there is a recommendation from that committee that the Tourism Advisory Committee recommends to council the following representatives be appointed to the Tourism Advisory Committee, which is called TAC, for a one-year term. We have Donna Galt and we have Claus Ekbo, is it?
Yep, close that.
Ekbo, and we have Mark Lehane, Is that Lehane? Okay, and then we have Bertie Gobel, is that correct? And then we have Robin Boldick. And we have
Top
Natalie,
names on there, yeah.
Natalie Stewart. Jeez, I like those names. I hope I didn't blow it. Now,
I think that was good. I'll second
Trina,
that motion.
okay, you'll make that motion. Trina makes a motion, John makes a second. Thank you. Is there anything that you would like to bring to us, Trina, with regards to?
I wasn't there at the meeting. I think Brian, were you there?
Brian, were you
Said
there?
he wasn't.
Oh,
I wasn't
no.
there, no.
But really happy to see the
I was
the
there.
groups on there and Robin that they got the Port Hardy Heritage Society, so the museum, that's a
I think we
good.
got a really good representation.
I think so
That's-
too,
that's-
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I think that's a good group.
Yeah, it's good. John, you were at the meeting. What,
Yes.
you want to add anything?
Actually, I think it's all self-explanatory. We went into it quite extensively, and as you read by your minutes, you'll see by that.
Yeah.
And actually, the minutes are actually awesome.
Great. Okay, thanks,
They
John.
they really covered it.
I think tourism, obviously, it's a big thing in our community, and it will be for a number of years, obviously, in our future. That's part of our future.
Big part
And
of it.
having,
Yeah.
having an active TAC committee here is great, and having an active North Island Tourism Advisory Committee is great too. And I think we got a great group on that too, so. Yeah, we're
Just-
looking to better and bigger things coming forward. And we know that our municipal regional taxes, that the MRDT, are doing well. we're collecting money that's going back into tourism, and I think it's awesome. Looks good, future looks good.
And Trina's the representative for council, and
Yes,
I represent the shuttle.
that's right. And we're glad that you did. You shuttle right along, John. Thank you very much. Okay, so can we have a vote on this motion? Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Good, thank you. Okay, staff reports. We're gonna go to capital early approvals for 2023. A recommendation that the council grants the early approvals as listed in the report. So all of you that had an opportunity to look at that report, I hope you all did. Is there anything that you would like to ask questions with regards to that report? Before we have a motion? Yes, oh,
I don't
Trish,
have questions specifically.
go
I
ahead.
just wonder if staff could just give an overview of how this has been arrived to, like, you know, these were all reviewed in the.
finance,
Yeah,
yes,
in our meetings already, so
yes,
to date.
If that's what the council would like, then I will run through the report. So what I've done for you is I prepared a spreadsheet as well, which is one spreadsheet that everybody has seen with regards to where some of the funds are gonna come from. And then I've highlighted all of the things that I'm asking for early approval and the things I'm already actioning going forward. So I've broken it into two pieces. One is the items that are carried forward that were from the previous year that are currently in action as of right now. Just to kind of give everybody an update as to where it's going, because it also ties into a couple of the additions that were requested for in this coming year. So what we're asking for in terms of, maybe what I'll do is I'll just talk about the carry forward projects very
Yes.
quickly. So we have the dog park, which is underway. We've got the fleet replacement. So to just kind of break that down, we've got a truck replacement, we've got an engine for the bucket truck, and then we had the Kubota. We tendered out the Kubota last year when it came in at, twice the price of what we had originally budgeted. So then you'll notice that for this year, we've asked for an additional amount there in order to cover that cost. We've got the heat pump at the municipal hall, which also goes with another portion of a project that is being added onto, which is the solar lighting upgrade to the property, as well as the generator. So rather than having a generator, we're going to be putting in the solar panels along the top of the building and battery banks. We've got the downtown drainage, which is combined with 3 projects, and those are related to 2 at Stink Creek and 1 at the Market Street. And we've got a bit of an addition to add in there in order to get some work done on that project. We had 1.7 million to carry forward on the aquatic upgrades, and so that's committed funds that we're putting towards the liner at this point. And then council has met on several occasions about the overruns for the project, so you'll see that there's all of those are encompassed in the this 2023 budget. The Seagate garbage relocation and lighting project, that's well underway, and the lighting has been planned, and then there's going to be some work that's going to come forward from there. T-float upgrades, so that was some work that we put aside. We did a little bit last year. We had some stuff to carry forward, but needed to pad the budget because of the rising cost and supply chain issues. So we have an additional ask for the 2023 year. We've got the sidewalk connector, which was grant funded primarily 80%, which is well underway and expected to complete soon. We've got the security upgrade, and if anybody needs me to slow down, please feel free to stop me at any point. We've got the security upgrade, which was started in 2022 and is completing in 2023. The salt and sand shed, which I believe is almost completely done now, but that also carried forward. We've got the welcome figure in the kiosk, which is the Thrive grant. That's 100% funded through ICE-T. That's well underway. The water distribution at the Glen Line Bridge. So we've been budgeting roughly about $250,000 a year. We had 305 in last year's budget in order to do water distribution upgrades. So there was some planning work that was done. And then we're carrying forward $254,000 of that. And there's work that's being done at the Glen Line Bridge, which is currently already tendered. And then we've also got some Granville Street upgrading as well. And then we've also got Cedar Heights Trail Park as well, some valve repair issues that are going on up there. We've got the water treatment plant filter head repair, and this is planning. So about $21,000 carried forward from that. The wastewater centrifuge, that was also carried forward. and then the Sequati plant heat pump. And you'll remember that we put in about $100,000 last year for the 2 heat pumps. We were actually able to see some significant savings on both of those heat pumps that we hadn't anticipated. And we still just have 1 pump that has to be put in, which is about $10,000. So what we're requesting in the early approvals is the fleet replacement edition, which would be the Kubota, so that we can get that out for tender. We've got the Market Street culvert, which is the add to the downtown drainage, which is an additional $22,000 in order to see that work complete. We've got the aquatic center upgrades, so that's an additional 2.4 million, bringing the project to about 5 million at this point for that work. And you'll actually notice that I had originally planned on taking the majority, almost all of the money from the community forest originally in the capital plan, and then the surplus would make up the balance of that. What I've done is I've distributed about $500,000 across surplus, the community forest fund, and then about $500,000 from the new community building fund that we just received the $1.971 million for. It's still up to council to decide how we allocate. It could be more, it could be less, but just so that we can keep those reserves in a healthy balance. And then we've got the T-float upgrades, which I mentioned before. We've got $25,000 extra work to complete that. New projects include the Bear Cove boat launch. So that's to replace that, the floats itself going out in the boat launch at Bear Cove. And then we've got the Seagate Pier fender pile, and then we've got the Seagate overhead doors. So this is the doors that open up to the bays on the Seagate building, which is currently rented out, and those doors have not worked properly for some time. So they're looking to get those done as quickly as possible. We've got the water treatment fiber upgrade. So this is the telecommunications fiber upgrade, and we've been in discussions with TELUS about some synergies that we may be able to find together in order to partnership on this project, with the possibility of hoping that they put up a tower potentially at the water treatment plant if we do this upgrade to be able to beam out towards Holbrook, especially if we can even figure out a way to get it to Kings Lake in some way, shape, or form, so that we can actually bridge the gap of communications. We're hoping that we'll see some significant savings by partnering with them, but we have a quote right now at $60,000 to do the fiber upgrade. And the reason why we need the fiber upgrade is we're currently on a copper line service, and the connection that we currently have to the plant is delayed. So we get delayed in transmission whenever there's a problem. We get a delay in transmission whenever we need to access the SCADA unit in order to be able to do any kind of maintenance or anything like that. And then just in terms of being able to run the system more efficiently with the fiber upgrade, we'd be able to have that access 24/7. And then we've got the blower room roof repair. So this is the roof repair that's done at the Sequati water treatment, wastewater treatment plant. That roof is a flat roof currently. If you look at it even on a Google image, it's very green. Definitely needs to be replaced. And then the Fort Rupert lift station, you'll remember that we started that project last year. We're well underway. All of the supplies are in, and then there's just a few things to cap that off and complete it. So those are the items that staff have put forward in terms of wanting to get some action and traction on prior to the approval of the financial plan. And I'm here for questions.
Thank you, Heather. Councilor Dorwood, do you have any questions?
No, thank you, appreciate that.
Councilor Robinson,
I'll move.
you'll move it?
Yeah.
And John will second it. Okay, great. Thank you for that, Heather. Appreciate it. And we have a first and second, so any more questions or comments? If none, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, that passes. Okay, so let's go on to poverty reduction planning and action, UBCF. Feel like an auction sometimes. Funding opportunity. We recommended that the district submit an application to UBCM under the Poverty Action Fund to support the creation of a temporary part-time poverty reduction coordinator to implement the action plan. Anybody would like to make a motion? Thank you, Janet. Do I have a second? Thank you, Trina. Okay, so I will pass that back over to Heather, if you would like to brief us on this a little bit.
Does anybody have any questions, first of all, specific? The only thing that I just wanted to point out is there has been some discussion, you might have noticed in my report, that there used to be a previous poverty reduction coordinator assigned to the Ministry of Community and Family Development. It was a part-time kind of arm's length. So there has been discussion about bringing that back, and some preliminary discussions that we've had is that there may be some opportunity for perhaps the district may take on that role with funding being provided to us. Just in terms of the optics of the nature of the position and ensuring that it's kind of kept at that arm's length approach. But it would be funded, but this would be an opportunity for us to, if we were to go down that road, and of course it's still in preliminary discussion at this point in time, but if we were to go down that road, this would be a great way to augment that and be able to get more action items actually completed. There's also an opportunity for us to turn a little bit of that into some actual startup. So what my proposal would be is that we've got the $30,000 or $50,000 that we can apply for. We can apply for up to 20% of that to be actual implementation work and not just staff time. So that's where we'll be actually lending that in there, so that there's actually some tangible asset going back into the community.
So in your professional opinion, how much of our own staff time would be taken up in this particular project?
Well, we're hoping that the staff time will be done by the part-time coordinator. However, you always know that with every project that we take on, at least 5 to 10% of our staff time will be taken as a result of that. Typically, because I hold the role of the kind of the coordinator of contracts when it comes to those kind of things, it could be me. However, we've also applied for the ICE-T, rural advisory, sorry, they're all running together. So the rural advisory, so with having those contractors, now I work quite closely with those contractors on the economic development piece. My hope is that we'll be able to find some synergies between the two to be able to help manage that.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, we have a first and second, so are there any more questions or comments with regards to this motion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, so let's go on to our check listings. There's a list of checks that have been signed. So I get the pleasure of doing in my term as deputy mayor. And are there any questions or concerns with regards to those checks? If not, we'll move on.
Move on.
You have a question, John?
No, move on.
Okay, thank you. Okay, bylaws. The fire department established procedure amendment bylaw for adoption. And that is the one that, as you can read, that's the one that Ross put together. Thank you very much, Ross. And John, do you have a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Okay, have a second?
Yep.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions with regards to that? If not, so the motion to adopt, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. And thanks, Ross, for putting that together. Greatly appreciated. Okay, council remuneration amendment bylaw for first and second and third reading. John, okay, thank you.
Motion.
And Janet, second. Any questions with regards to that? If not, all in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Thank you. That passes. Animal control amendment. I thought this was a very interesting. Ross spent a lot of time putting this one together, and I will be asking Ross just to talk a little bit about that and about why we're making this amendment. But anyways, for first, second, and third reading, do I have a motion? Thank you, John. Thank you, Janet. Any questions with regards to this? I'm going to pass that over to Ross. Ross, we just want to give us a brief one on this one. I can have 10 animals now in my house. Is that correct?
Yes, you're right. 10 is the exact number. Here's the thing. Council will recall in April of 2021, an issue came forward with regard to sort of a gap in the regulations pertaining to specificity around the number of animals that could be kept. There were complaints in the community. So that begot the amendment that you see in italics quoted under discussion in the report, which sets out a maximum number of dogs, cats, or a combination thereof. Of course, there's no magic number with this stuff. It's always subjective, and no matter what number you pick, somebody's going to come forward with, except I want one more. So that's happened a couple of times now. And so the notion of the proposed amendment is to provide a little bit of flexibility through a permitting process. So the flexibility is for that extra animal. It won't be enough. Somebody will come forward with 2 extra animals as soon as this is adopted. However, we got to take a stab at it somewhere. This allows for the consideration of 1 additional animal. Now, what's key to these proposed regulations that are set out A through G is that it's intended, the structure is intended to make sure that it's only a non-permanent situation. In other words, that the owner ultimately will bring their animal ownership in accordance with the hard numbers set out in the in the bylaws. So this is for those exceptions where, for instance, someone's moving into the community new, or somebody inherits their parents' animal, dog, whatever, and they need a temporary sort of window to accommodate this extra animal. But the notion is it's not carte blanche. It doesn't bump it up by 1 animal in perpetuity. And as you'll see in here, it sets out the requirement that the permit has to be renewed every year. And that way the district's able to keep a handle on whether they're conforming to the bylaw or not. So in essence, that's what this is about. It's sort of an initiative to provide better service to the community around this issue.
Great, thanks, Ross. Any questions? Go ahead, John.
Is there a fee associated with the permit?
No fee at this point unless council wants to prescribe one. It's sort of, we're doing it, a gratis thing. The amount of time that goes into it, should be relatively minimal. So it's sort of really, in my mind, not worth it. It's more important on these one-off situations to be able to provide this service. It should be pretty rare this pops up.
Thank you. And how many do you anticipate in a year?
Well, I'd love to think 0, but at this point, in terms of the feedback that I've heard about, well, that's not enough, I want to move to the community and I got more animals than that. It's been twice since 2021. So next year it could be 10, it could be 0. It's hard to tell. I would expect that the more people there are moving to the community, the greater the likelihood you're going to bump into this from time to time. But regardless, I don't anticipate that it'll be very frequent whatsoever.
Okay, great, thanks, Ross. Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, thank you, Ross, for your work on this. I know that is something when someone is considering moving to the community, that's a bylaw that they look at. So thank you for putting forward this work for that.
Thank you, Gina. Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion on the floor, so all in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Okay, great, thank you, that's passed. Thanks, Ross. Pending bylaws, we don't have any council reports, so we're gonna start off with our favorite traveler, Councilor Bill.
Thank you. Pick me because mine will be fast because I've been away since the last council meeting. Prior to that, I did the LGLA counselor training. That was really good. As I think most people here attended it as well. And the part that sticks out most in my mind actually is the words by Maya Tate, the mayor of Sioux. She had some really good words of experience about yeah, dealing with the ups and downs of being a politician, even in a tiny little community. So I found that her words very helpful. And that is all I have for this time.
Okay, well, thank you. Councilor Brian Texmo, what have you got for us?
So it hasn't been a lot since the last council meeting. Basically, just committee the whole meeting basically earlier today, learning as much as I can, learning more about the community forest, North Island Community Forest, which is great. It's something I didn't really know much about, heard a lot about it, but hearing more in depth about it, how amazing it is. I think it's going to be a great thing to see an opening ceremony or a signing ceremony for that, for the benefit of everybody. Learning more about community futures, about that. Looking forward to the lunch and Thursday with Tells. And that's what it has been so busy the last couple of weeks. So that's it for me.
Great, thanks, Brian. Counselor Smith.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, or Deputy Mayor. Yeah, attended the Bear Smart meeting on the 8th, so plans are well underway. Registration is open. It's $2 a child to attend the teddy bear picnic, which you get lunch, games, should be a lot of fun, and of course, learning all about how to be Bear Smart. So, yeah, we're really looking forward to that. That's on April 1st. That's about all I have to report.
Okay, well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Counselor Tidbury.
I attended the Hardy Bay Seniors monthly meeting. The food program is going well. We're feeding every Thursday. Last Thursday, we had 53 people that we fed. All the programs are going well. The pool is, players are doing well. We just okayed resurface the table in there. And we've still working at other grants. Other things, on the Wednesday, I attended the regional finance meeting, and that went quite well, quite long. And then I found out that we had a transit meeting afterwards, and that took up some time. But regarding that, one concern I've got is being a transit person, and this council's been pays into transit, is, you know, what effect the new service from VHA's going to affect our public transit system. Right now, our transit system is on the growth. We're gaining new ridership all this year, and it's been gaining. And I'm just wondering what is going to happen when VHA comes online and does their service between Port Hardy and Port McNeill. And those questions, nobody seems to have an understanding what they are. How much it's going to cost, who's going to being able to ride on those vehicles or anything. So that's my concern right now.
They haven't mentioned if it's just gonna be the staff itself.
No, it's going to be the public.
Yeah.
But who is going to ride on them? Got no idea.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a cost? No idea. VHA's not giving that information out
So
right
did they
now.
say it was like gonna be a transit system open to the public or just for their employees?
No, it's a service that's going to be between Port Hardy Hospital and Port McNeill Hospital.
Okay.
So when Port Hardy Hospital is closed down, they will be able to get on a bus or a car
Oh, I
or
see.
something
Yeah.
and transport to Port McNeill and vice versa.
Right.
If those hospitals close down.
Yeah.
But I'd like to know what effect that is going to be on our transit system, and not only our transit system, we also have a private taxi company in Port Hardy. How will it affect that? So that's my report.
Is that it, John?
Yes, for now.
Okay, thank you, John. Okay, Counselor Robertson, please.
I think I might have mentioned this before, but I was at the chamber lunch, when, the Safer Places plan was presented by Jim and
Yeah.
Heather. So that was interesting. I was at, the next day after the meeting, last council meeting, at an Island Health breakfast, and there were several senior folks from Island Health in there talking to, well, Pat wasn't able to make it, so Dennis and I, it was interesting, and yeah, we'll see where it goes. And they're interested in how council sees the best distribution of the $30 million that's been contributed to to North Island Health. So that, yeah, stay tuned for lots on there. I was at the Mount Washington Health Network meeting, just in planning some of the things we're doing. Interesting one yesterday was at the Foundry meeting, and it's looking like an early May opening, official opening. And they're putting in place staffing services now. So it looks really good, actually. It looks,
There's even
So-
openings for staff too, right? Like they're,
they're hiring, and,
Yeah.
Christine Swain is the executive director, and they're busy planning and scheduling things right now, and doing all the.
drywall's going up today.
Pardon me?
Drywall's going up
Yeah, it
today.
was going up yesterday too,
Yeah.
actually, yeah. Yeah, so,
Following.
and just also, I was at the lunch today with MLA, and I have, part of my world is to accompany her in her North Island tour. Anybody wants to join in that, then feel free. Anyway.
No, you get big bucks.
Yeah, right, I get it.
A couple of extra sandwiches
Thanks.
here and there, eh?
Filling or something. Anyway, it's good, and it's good to see Michelle.
Yeah, that's good, yeah. Forgot to mention that.
That's my, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Counselor. Yeah, it was great to have Michelle here today to talk to us and just,
Did I miss anything? Is that working, but I was wondering if I missed anything out.
well, I think Council could fill you in with some of that, but I mean, it was great. She talked, well, we talked a little bit, and then they were talking a little bit. We were talking a lot about housing and about the importance of
Yes,
housing in our
yeah.
area, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what you look at with regards to housing. You're talking about affordable housing, you're talking about professional level housing, you're talking about so many different ways. Did they rent apartments? Did they live in home? It's just, there's such a gamma there of shortages in our community.
Right.
That, and try to, I don't know, try to get the developers to actually try to do something up here. The thing that always comes up all the time is just the cost.
Yeah, the high
The cost is just the high cost of
Yeah.
trying to build something up here, you build something, they say 1,000 square foot at 400 square foot, you're looking at 1,000 square foot building for 400 grand. Okay, so the clientele that's here right now we're not talking about professional people coming that maybe have some extra money that they can afford to do that.
Yeah.
If you look at our average wage in our North Island, in our community, for example, what is it, like 57 or something like 1,000, they can't afford to buy a $400,000 home. I think that Heather had talked about something like, what is it, $200,000, I think was kind of the figure for that
Yeah.
demographic, for that much money that they would make.
In order for them to still be able to have money to spend on other things, $200,000 is about the home that they would be able to afford. Now, you hope that that person doesn't have debt or anything like that, would play into well, because ultimately from, that 30% kind of sweet spot.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people in this community that we talked about today that are spending way more than 30% of their actual income to live,
Right.
to rent.
To
I
rent.
mean, it's ridiculous, if
And
people have money, if you rent for, like, we just heard about a nurse that's renting for like, what is it, $2,200 a month. A house,
Yeah.
$2,200 a month, that's what
Yeah.
we rent.
And a lot of these people that are renting and paying good money for rent still don't qualify for a mortgage, even though they've been
Yeah.
paying that for maybe years at a time, that amount of money, which would easily be easily be a mortgage payment, but still can't
Yeah,
qualify
still
because
can't
of their
qualify.
income.
Yeah. So it's a toughie.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a toughie. There's no easy solution. If there was, we would have been there already. But we're gonna work on it. And, with regards to the meeting that Fred and I were nicely asked to participate in, we went for breakfast with them and sat down with them, and there was a couple people there, Dave Boychuk, who was with regards to capital with Island Health, and then there was James Hansen. He's one of the, looks at a physician type hiring or whatever, and they're talking about the importance of working with the communities and partnering up to try to find ways and means to come with solutions for the demand, right?
Mhm.
And the whole idea is to bring people outwardly to come here, not just as locums or whatever, to come here and live.
Mhm.
We want them to come here to live. So that's the key. And how do we go about doing that? Well, housing is the number one issue that everybody seems to be falling under, right?
Mhm.
Gotta have a place to live.
Yeah.
They got 150 professional positions open on the North Island in Mount Washington Regional District. 150.
Yeah.
The full-time positions, but you know, people come up and they look and they can't find a place to live. do they?
Can't find a place to live or rent or anything, and that's it.
That's sad.
Yeah, might really like it up here, but
Yeah.
you have to have a place to live.
So some of the things that we work on, obviously, I'll get you, Ross, you got your hand up. Go ahead, buddy.
Thank you. I could add a little bit more to your meeting with Island Health. I had a conversation with Island Health representatives yesterday, and all I can tell you is that things are looking extremely promising in terms of moving the issue of housing forward in a meaningful and near-term way, is all I can say. So very, very positive indeed.
Okay, that's great.
It's good.
Awesome news. Thank you, Ross. And then just jumping on housing again, obviously our North Island Seniors Housing Foundation is still working with BC Housing with regard to the seniors
Yeah.
facility that we're hoping to build here. There'll be an intake in the fall. We got a lot of work to do to get that all together. But for those of you that know, you probably already know that Corey Patterson, who was the lead of that for many, many years, him and I have sort of co-chaired since after the election, the last election, and I started getting more involved. But he's had to step down because of health reasons. So I got dumped up to be the chair of that committee now, and we got some work to do to get prepared for this year. We had some developers come in and look at the property that we were looking at, and unfortunately, they stepped away from the project. So now I got some other people that I'm dealing with right now. We're dealing with some of the modular home people. They're gonna give us some proposals. We still have a lot of work to do to sort of get everything put together, but it doesn't mean that we're not gonna, our group is not gonna keep working hard to make it happen, but. It's always a toughie, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's just the way it goes, but we're gonna keep hammering on it, that's for sure. Another thing that came up at that Mount Washington Regional District meeting that we had, the last one, was the North Island Sustainable Power Coalition, our group that we formed before, that the regional district has approved a task force group,
Oh, yeah. I forgot about it.
which is going to be set up of basically all those people that were originally involved with coalition. We're gonna be bringing other stakeholders to be involved with that, other businesses and that, especially like, you know, Orcas and Grandma, big power users or whatever.
Mhm.
Get them at the table and make sure that we lobby with the government and the ministries to see what we can do. You know, that report brought out a lot of different initiatives. Obviously, a new transmission line
Yeah.
coming up here is the key for our future.
Yeah,
And
no,
that's what we gotta,
sustainability, but growth. at the
that's
same
what,
time.
yeah, I mean, we're so limited to what we can do up here. Any big industry that comes up here, we don't have the power to sustain it. So we gotta get that power in there. Not only that, the bigger the line coming up, bigger the power we can send down. So that just gives other opportunities for run of the river projects or expansion of our wind farm,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's all there.
Yeah.
I mean, they said they could put another 50 units up there easy
Yeah.
on the hill, but the lines aren't big enough to go down south. So that's another thing that we want to work on. Finance committee that we had at the RD. Well, we had some good news down there, and I'm not sure if I can even make that public yet. Can we make that public? Probably not. Has to go to the Mount Washington Regional District Board meeting for approval, but good news for us, I think, coming up, which is exciting. I also had an interesting conversation with a young lady. She wanted to do a survey with regards to the BC Commercial Fishing Association, and it's called the Labor Market Study. And it was an interview asking me about commercial fishing in our particular community. And I said, well, I really don't have a big background with regards to commercial fishing, but I did a little bit of herring fishing at one time. I went out to Sainer one time, did some of that, and a little bit of a background on it. But she just said, well, what about a community perspective? What does it mean for your community? Well, if you go back when I first come here in the 1970s, fishing was huge in this community. It was huge. And even to the 80s, it was huge. towards the end of the 80s, it started slowing down, and then the Mifflin report came up, and they bought back half of the licenses supposedly, but there was bigger boats that bought the licenses and made bigger boats, but didn't necessarily stop the fishing. But since then, the commercial fishing industry's been taking a big hit. And one of the reports that was out, and if any of you are interested, you can go online, and it's basically called The Future of BC Commercial Salmon Fisheries, and it was put together by a group of commercial fishermen and its stakeholders in the business. It's saying our biggest problem that we have right now is on the West Coast, the corporations are buying up the licenses. That means that the big companies are buying the licenses, and it's taking it away from the owner-operator aspect. On the East Coast, totally opposite. Owner-operated. If you own a license, you gotta be on the boat to fish. Here, it's not the case.
It reminds of the forestry center allocation, reallocation,
Yeah,
right? Like a couple people
Yeah.
owning all of it. So just
same
same
thing.
thing happening for.
Same thing. So when you look at the East Coast, the East Coast has a very, very interesting system which supports the guys that fish. The guys that go out there and actually do the fishing, it's supported because owner-operator license. Here, licenses are owned, the majority of them, by corporations that lease them out to the guys go out and fish.
We're in the same country still?
And it makes it very, very difficult for those guys to be able to go out there and make a living at it. And plus, not only that, the federal government at this particular time is using what they call a precautionary measure. That's the big word now, precautionary measure, that we have to be careful that we don't overfish. We have to be careful that we want to make sure that the salmon return. We got to do all these different things. And it's important, obviously, we've got to do that. But what it's done is the decision-making, another thing on the West Coast here, when they make a decision with regards to, and that's in Ottawa, they sit down with the license holders to make the decision what they do with the fishery on the West Coast. The majority of the commercial fishermen that actually do the fishing are not at the table. So that's another issue that's been brought up in this report. There has to be more boots on the ground, people that are actually in the industry to make those decisions.
Yeah.
The herring season used to be for food herring and roe herring and kelp, I guess roe and kelp. It's been depleted down to where it used to be able to get 20% of what they thought the allocation would be. Now they're 5 and 7%. And those fisheries are slowly getting smaller and smaller. So the people that are in that industry is big. Well, they're just in the sea can.
What is that?
The
That's
sea
your
can,
pool
they're out there
That's
working.
the pool.
That's the pool
It's the
liner.
sound of water.
Pool liner, yeah.
Sound of a deep dive.
The
Yeah.
other interesting thing is for licenses, to buy a quota, just a quota license for a million pounds of fish, it costs $1.2 million for that license.
You have to be a
And
small business.
I went online and when I was getting prepared to do this interview, whatever with them, I went online and there was, and one broker was selling 60 commercial boats. With licenses, 60 of them. There's a lot of people getting out of the industry because they just can't afford to be in the industry. The only one that looks like it's fairly stable at this particular time, but it's smaller numbers, is the halibut fleet. But those are usually owned by smaller boats.
Concentrated into ownership too.
Ownership, yeah. And those licenses are $1 million a pop. And actively fishing boats last year, they said was 150 boats only. That was it, on this coast. And we only get 18.3% of the halibut fishery on the west coast of our country. Because they fish halibut from California all the way up to Alaska. The majority of the fishing gets up in Alaska. We only get, of that quota, which is a partnership between us and the United States, we only get 18.3% of that. That's a quota for us to fish. The West Coast has always been looked at from Ottawa, Ontario this way. Don't look very good. We don't get a lot of support, unfortunately. So in this thing here was, how do we convince the young people to get in the industry and what training do they need? And I said, well, you tell me where it looks like it's even something that you can convince somebody to get into. Can I convince a young person to be into the fishing industry? It's hard. It's
Yeah.
very difficult. I said, way back in the 70s, guys used to work in the bush. In the summertime, they go fishing.
And the money's there, the money's good. It's not guaranteed anymore, right?
They used to do both. They used to fish in the summer and log in the winter. That's what they did, but they don't do that anymore. And the logging industry doesn't even, they don't even open to that anymore, because they want guys to work year round. Yeah, and then obviously we were at the LGLA, training council to get us up, and there was some really good stuff there. I really enjoyed it. There was some very interesting conversations about what we should be aware of in this work that we do as supposedly volunteers. Right? Remuneration. Yeah, we get something, that's for sure. And we can't complain about that, but there's a lot of other things that we have to deal with too, right? But we all know that. Anyways, I dragged on way too long. But, yeah, there's things happening. Looks good in the future, I think, for us. I mean, we gotta deal with what we gotta deal with, right? Whatever decisions that come down, whether it's in the logging or the fishing or the fish farm industry, we gotta deal with it.
Mm.
So we just gotta move forward, do the best we can with what we got. What else can we do? Go ahead, Fred.
Only if you finish. Just because it's separate.
Way over.
I forgot to mention, and I'm not sure what process this will have to go through. I was asked if I might sit on an island health group called the Collaborative Services Committee. And
Oh,
it's a fairly broad group. And they're just expanding their membership. And the reason why they asked me is because of my position on council, because I'm also an employee of work with the MLA.
Mhm.
So I can forward, I'm not sure what process that will.
I don't know, Heather, what we would.
It's an
appoint somebody
external,
from
it's an
council?
external committee and I don't know.
Yeah, I guess the question would be is, do you want to be appointed as a council member, like as a liaison, or do you want to be as a committee member?
I wouldn't be a liaison. It's not, they're not looking for a liaison with, formal liaison with council. I think it's more, they're looking for somebody from council to sit on the committee. Or because I am on council, so.
So would Fred just come and ask to say that if we had any issue with him being sitting on that, for example, we wouldn't appoint him, but just ask for permission? That would be so
I guess
online?
you could do it that way, because the other, usually whenever you're appointed to an external committee, it's because you're gonna report back on what that committee
And this
is
would
doing.
definitely be a report back.
Then if it's a report back, then definitely I would ask for council to just appoint you as an external, and then that way you would be sitting on representing council at that table,
Yeah.
obviously, and then be able to report back.
Were you willing to do that?
I am willing to do that. I can forward the information that I have, which is not staggering at this point. But some documents to everyone and let them have a look at it first and maybe come to next.
Yeah.
meeting.
Oh, and one more thing. Yeah, okay, do that, please.
Thank you.
Okay, so one more thing that I forgot to mention was the jobs fair. We had a jobs fair here. And it was very well attended. Actually, Heather was there and she did so much talking, she lost her voice. And that's true, isn't it, Heather? There was a lot of companies there, and I went around and I had the opportunity to go around and talk to most of them that were there, and asked them, well, what are you looking for? What do you need? And what can we do? Because being on VANTAS, which is VANTAS is the Training and Attraction Society group, we're interested in what kind of training we can bring to North Island, like through North Island College or whatever.
Mhm.
What can we do to help people, young people to get training so they can stay here and work? And it was really good. And I was really impressed with the turnout. I thought it was around 300, but according to what Chris sent me, Heather, you were right. They said there was like 500 people showed up.
Wow.
500 people in our community came through that door to ask questions and talk. A lot of young people, like a lot of schools came and they had buses set up to bring people from other communities. It was really, really well done. And it was a great experience. And there's a lot of people looking for people.
The chamber.
Chamber of Commerce.
They had a piece in it.
Nice,
North Island Employment.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
maybe we could send, I didn't attend, but it sounds like they did a really outstanding job.
They
Maybe
did.
we could send them a letter acknowledging that.
That's great.
yeah, it was really good. And one of the things that was there, Island Health was there,
yeah,
with regards to the drivers. What John was just talking about, getting drivers. They have 10 drivers already hired. They have all the vehicles already to do the transporting back and forth from Port Hardy. Yeah. And the next phase would be to get drivers to go from, and that's not just not from Port Hardy to Port Mill, but also to Port Alice to Port Mill.
Yeah.
And then it goes down the Campbell River, and then after that, it'll go to Tacoma. So they're looking for drivers for that too coming up. But it sounds like, according to what they said, their kids start as early as April 1, which is at the end of the month. So it sounds like they're on the ball to get it going now, but as John has mentioned, we haven't got a clue what it means. We have no clue who's going, who's gonna be about, what's it all entails. You only have to have a class 5, so they're not big vehicles that they're using, just smaller vehicles, so that's what they're gonna do, and transport people back and forth somehow, some way. And they said staff and equipment or whatever's needed back and forth to the hospitals, they'll look at back and forth. And, the other thing that was brought up with regards to that, and I don't know, did we mention that tonight about the CT scanner? It's been purchased.
yeah, that's good.
It's coming to the North Island,
Yeah, it's
which
huge.
is awesome.
Huge.
It's great, great stuff. So anyways, I'm done yapping, and thank you, council, for all the updates. And, pending bylaws, nothing, council verb, we just did that. Is there anything in here with regards to announcements that, yes, John?
Your dates. The 26th is a Sunday. 27th is a Monday.
It'll be the 28th for those meetings.
Yeah, I figured so. I just thought
We were having fun, Louis.
that's right. And she got best match, 26th to the April 1st.
That's right.
That's right, that's Sunday to April 1st, eh? Gotta love it. And I can't believe it's just around the corner.
I know.
Warm weather
Warm weather, we're hoping.
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Isn't
Snowstorms.
spring, doesn't spring start March
I don't
21?
need it anymore.
Usually March 21 is spring. Couldn't get on the weekend.
Well, they said it's gonna be a late spring this year.
That could be.
Oh,
We were building a snowman 2 years ago. It's not unusual that we
No.
asked.
No. In fact, we've had snow here Easter.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you, council. And, yes, Fred, you want to adjourn? Thank you. We've just adjourned. Thanks to Fred.